Eamon, welcome. We've seen a little bit of choppy market action today, kind of drifting lower earlier as there was some concern, like we heard from our market guest this morning, that the president might not deliver the goods, so to speak. What should we expect to hear from him at 3 p.m.?
Well, look, Kelly, I think you can expect a gusher of news here starting in about 15 minutes out of Washington, where both the Capitol and the White House are fully open for business in terms of getting legislation done. Drew Hamill, who is one of the Speaker's top aides, has been tweeting out the number of times that Pelosi and Mnuchin have spoken today. The most recent one, he said they've spoken 6 times as of 12:50 p.m. And it was shortly after that 6th phone call between the two that Nancy Pelosi's office scheduled this 2 p.m. Announcement up on Capitol Hill. We don't know what she's going to be announcing. So this is a case of deal or no deal. She's going about an hour before the President of the United States, who will be in the Rose Garden at 3 p.m., as you point out. Not clear entirely what he's going to announce there either. We do expect a national emergency declaration, but we don't know if he's going to invoke the Stafford Act or the full powers under the Stafford Act. Yesterday, he suggested maybe he would just do some of the minor pieces of that without specifying what that is. We have been asking aides here and senior administration officials all day what the president's going to do, what that might look like, what powers that's going to unlock. No answers forthcoming from anybody here at the White House. So this is going to be one of those where we all sort of learn this in relatively close to real time, Kelly.
And Stefanie, you think the bigger picture here is that the president's looking less and less likely to get reelected?
Yeah, I mean, the last time he spoke, the Dow in the futures market lost 1,000 points. The confidence in him and what this administration is doing for the economy is rather low right now. I think he's got he made a very interesting decision. The White House clearly made a decision to make this statement during market hours. And so it has to be more than just declaring a state of emergency. I think they're going to have to deliver something to try to get some confidence back in the market. But, you know, the economy is not the market. And the reason for the market sell-off is just complete lack of hope that there could be an economic sort of rebound or maintain where we were even just a couple months ago, and that heading into the election, a bad economy is going to be really hard for him to win re-election.
Eamon, the fact that Speaker Pelosi is going at 2 p.m. before the president's announcement, is that the fruit of her calls with Mnuchin maybe leading towards some coordinated action in a good way, or does it suggest there might be some friction and now she wants to be the first one to the podium?
Look, I'll tell you what, in the old days in Washington, if there was a deal, what you might have is the Speaker of the House waiting for the President of the United States to announce it first, and then the Speaker would go or follow up more or less simultaneously with the release of his or her own. This is an entirely different era, much more factionalized, the bitter partisanship, but you know, I'd hate to read too much into it. The one thing I can tell you is that aides, right after we and others reported that we were expecting the president to make a national emergency declaration, I talked to one White House official who urged me in the strongest terms not to report that because, in this official's view, we simply don't know until the president says what he's going to say. So we just don't know at this point exactly where the president's going to come down on this, and we don't know what that means for Nancy Pelosi, who put out a fact sheet last night of some of the elements that were baked into the deal. Now, after those 6 phone calls back and forth, you can imagine the deal has shifted quite a bit during the course of the day today, and so we're dealing with a moving target in the dark here.
Stefanie, what were you going to say?
No, I mean, Eamon, that's such a great point about the timing and the sequence of events, the clear lack of cohesion between the two. I think that most onlookers right now are not seeing leadership by any of the elected leaders of our country. The Senate is gone, right? So senators are not even in Washington anymore. The House, it keeps saying they have to leave as soon as possible. And the president, the last time he commented to anyone, the market didn't like any of it. And so, you know, people are looking for leaders. We're not even seeing it. It just doesn't, you know, give me any confidence that any of them are going to be here after this November, anyone who's up.
Interesting. All right, and that's the backdrop for this big 3 p.m. announcement, although, like I said, at 2, we'll hear from Pelosi first. Guys, thank you both.